We almost didn't get it, y'all. We almost didn't get the dub, but guess what? Your Philadelphia Eagles held on for dear freaking life. I got to be honest, I was on the edge of my seat. But, of course, this is what happens in week one. Everyone struggles. Nothing ever really goes according to plan, right? That's the theme of week one, right? It's called silly week for a reason. And it's exciting that football is back. We get to see Jalen Hurts do his thing for another season. It's so much to look forward to. Obviously, the Eagles are trying to get back to the big dance, but it starts in week one and it goes from there. And I appreciate you guys for locking in on Chalk It Up Sports for another dose of your Eagles content, man. I appreciate you guys. It's a new season. Make sure you guys smash that like button. It would mean a lot to me. It really helps the content grow. Definitely drop your name in that live chat. I want to see who's here. I want to see who's up live and kicking. I know it's late on the East Coast, but you know I'm trying to hold it down for the birds in the South right now. I'm trying to hold it down. But man, it's very, very interesting game to say the least. And you guys, we're going to be live for about maybe 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. I can't be up too late, but overall, a very, very fascinating game to watch. Again, like I said, it was a struggle from beginning to end. Obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles came out with a big lead. They put up 16 points in that first quarter. And then from that point forward, things were pretty much very up and down. The offense really didn't have any continuity. It seemed like Jalen Hurts was kind of struggling a bit out there. It seemed like he was struggling to see the field for some reason. Granted, week one, you have a new offensive coordinator, so I'm pretty sure those guys are trying to get used to the flow of things with each other. But overall, man, I think the defense played as well as they could have, all things considered. The offense had a hard time sustaining drives. They had a hard time converting third downs at certain parts of the game. But I think overall, the defense played as well as they could. They only gave up 20 points. Mac Jones, he accounted for 316 yards. So the Eagles gave up. It's so funny when it comes to this game. We all talked about the New England Patriots run game, right? We talked about how it was like, at least me, right? I talked about that this game wasn't going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm watching this game and I'm thinking to myself, it's going to be exactly what I thought. On top of that, the weather was very inclement. Things cleared up in the second half, so there's no excuses when it comes to the weather. But giving up over 300 yards passing, but then only giving up 76 yards rushing, that actually goes against how I thought this game would go. I thought the Philadelphia Eagles would struggle a bit more in the run game, and I thought they would be a little bit better in the passing game. But a lot of those yards, they were given up by linebackers. They were given up by safeties. James Bradbury didn't have his best game, but it wasn't his worst game. I think Darius Slade played a really good game. I think Reed Blankenship, despite the touchdown given up to the tight end, I feel like Reed Blankenship played a pretty good game. But overall, this game was very interesting. I didn't expect it to go the way it did. And if you look at the numbers, you'll think that the Patriots kind of dominated, but in reality, that wasn't the case at all. Mac Jones had to throw that ball 54 times. I didn't think that was something that was in Bill Belichick's DNA. I don't know if that's a Bill O'Brien thing, but I did not expect Mac Jones to throw that ball 54 times. Going 35 for 54, 316 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He had an okay game. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, but he kind of didn't make the passes that he needed to make when he needed to make them. Does that make sense? Jalen Hurts, 22 for 33, only 170 yards passing, 1 passing touchdown, no interceptions, but he did fumble at a crucial moment. And I got to be honest, you guys, I don't know if he was seeing ghosts out there. I don't know what he was thinking in that moment. I don't know what Brian Johnson was really thinking in that moment as well. I mean, you call a quarterback draw in that kind of situation, and on top of that, Jalen Hurts, you got a slide right there, my man. It just seemed like offense really couldn't get out of their own way. Offense really, outside of the turnovers created by the defense, offense really only had one good drive. Just one. And that was the first drive, and it only led to 3 points. So when you think about it from that perspective, the offense came out very sluggish, whereas though we expected the offense to kind of come out guns a-blazing, and we expected the defense to struggle, but the defense kind of did a pretty fair job. But I think overall, the linebacker situation is going to haunt us, especially when you account for Nakobe Dean's injury. And we're going to get into that as well, because I think I told you guys this last time we spoke. Nakobe Dean, it's not a talent issue with him. It's not a talent issue. It's not a football IQ issue. It's none of those things. Can he hold up for 17 games? And so far, it's not going to happen. It's week 1. He didn't even finish the game. And there's a chance he might not even play in week 2 on Thursday, because remember, it's a short week. So there's a chance that he might not even play on Thursday, may not play on Thursday against the Minnesota Vikings. He left that game in a walking boot. So we have reason to be concerned about that linebacker position. Yeah, you got Zach Cunningham there with experience, but overall, I mean, Christian Ellis, I don't know if I can really put all my eggs in that basket, but it's time to – that linebacker room is concerning me, and it's only week 1. You know, we got to be honest with ourselves. It's never been a talent conversation with Nakobe Dean, right? He's not that big of a dude. Can he take the pounding that's required of that middle linebacker position? TJ Edwards played 20 games straight last year. No injuries. He's a big dude. You got to put it in perspective. So, I'm not going to take this time to rag on Nakobe Dean. I mean, he's hurt. Hopefully he's okay. I think Bradbury is going to be okay, Matt. I'm looking – Bradbury kind of I don't know what happened, but it looked like he kind of had like a pretty nasty collision. I think he busted his lip a little bit, but I think he's going to overall be okay. I think Josh Jobe came in and did as good of a job as he could possibly do. He managed to make the game-saving stop on fourth down. Granted, if that receiver gets his feet in, that's ball game pretty much, in my opinion. I felt like the Patriots were driving. The Patriots had momentum. The Eagles were literally holding on for dear life. So this isn't one of those games that we can be proud of, but it's a game that you can say, you know what, we made it through that. It was week 1. Things were very sloppy on the offensive side of the ball, but I expect things to pick up. I expect things to get cleaned up, as a matter of fact. Brian Johnson, I wasn't too pleased with his play calling today. It didn't really seem to me like he had any kind of flow, any type of continuity. I didn't really sense the situational awareness. Like I didn't feel like his play calling was cumulative. And what I mean by that is, I don't feel like he was calling a play to set up the next play. None of his plays seemed to chain together. It seemed like he was kind of just trying to throw stuff at the wall and hope that it stuck. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like the situations he put Jalen Hurts in at times, but also Jalen Hurts missed Dallas Goedert a few times. There's no way Dallas Goedert gets his first target in the fourth quarter. That should not happen. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but there were so many things to really pull from this game. But the bottom line is they got the dub, 25-20. They won the game. And the Eagles don't really win in Foxborough. They don't do a good job winning in Gillette Stadium, right? They don't really do a good job playing the Patriots in season. On top of that, Bill Belichick is one of the greatest defensive minds, one of the greatest coaching minds to ever see this game. So when you think about it from that perspective, the Patriots had all the experience of coaching on their side, whereas the Philadelphia Eagles had all the talent on their side, right? So that Eagles defensive line, that Eagles defense in general ultimately came through in the end. And ultimately, Nick Sirianni, Brian Johnson, and Sean Desai ultimately got the win over the veteran coaching staff of the Patriots. That's the reality. But I believe if there was another minute or two on that clock, I think the Patriots were driving and the Eagles got out of Dodge. But it's okay though, because it was week 1, right? If we saw this kind of game in like week 8, week 9, then we would have some concerns for sure. But I also like to attribute to the fact that Jalen Hurts didn't play in the preseason. He hasn't seen any live action, any real football since the Super Bowl. Again, new coaching staff. So I expected some hiccups. There's going to be some growing pains, despite the relationship him and Brian Johnson have. There's going to be some growing pains, but overall, they got the win. A lot of people thought that the Eagles weren't going to win this game because of the circumstances. I thought they would win, but I knew it would be ugly. I knew it wouldn't be pretty. I had them winning the game 31-24, and they ended up winning 25-20. Too close for my comfort, but they got the job done. Let's do some shout-outs, man. Shout out to our man Jorge Mendoza, Matt Weeks, Marley Coldberg, Queen Bird Gang. What's going on? I appreciate you guys for locking in on the content. Make sure you smash that like button. But yeah, some people that stood out to me, some players that stood out to me for the Philadelphia Eagles, man, I want to give Jordan Davis his flowers today, or tonight rather. I want to give Jordan Davis his flowers. Jordan Davis had 6 total tackles, 3 solo, a half a sack, 1 tackle for loss, had a quarterback hit, and he had a forced fumble recovered by Zach Cunningham. Jordan Davis had a great game, and on top of that, the Eagles held the Patriots to only 76 yards rushing? Only 76 yards rushing. That's a big deal because I spoke about this. We're going to be able to judge this Philadelphia Eagles team on how they win first downs. Can they stop the run? The Patriots are a pretty decent running team. They did a pretty good job bottling up, Ezekiel Elliott and Ramondre Stevenson in the run game. Ramondre Stevenson did gash him in the passing game quite a few times. His longest was a 32-yard reception. But overall, when it comes to the running game, held Ezekiel Elliott to under 30 yards rushing, held Ramondre Stevenson to under 30 yards rushing. Mac Jones, 15 yards rushing. Ty Montgomery, the second, 7 yards rushing. That's 76 yards total. No rushing touchdowns. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles did a really good job forcing Mac Jones to have to win that game with his arm. You see he threw the ball 54 times. Sorry about the internet lagging, you guys. I appreciate it. Smash that like button if you guys are catching me here. But again, we talked about the Eagles' run defense. Can they hold the Patriots to under 100 yards rushing? Can they do that? Can they force Mac Jones to have to win that game? And that's exactly what happened. I thought they would struggle. I honestly thought the Philadelphia Eagles would struggle stopping the run, but they didn't. They did a pretty good job. Like, you saw Jordan Davis active. You saw Jordan Davis collapse in the pocket. Same thing with Jalen Carter as well. Jalen Carter came in and was a wrecking ball. He was so close to getting sacks. He forced Mac Jones off his spot so many times. And then Fletcher Cox came in with clutch moment after clutch moment. You got to give credit where credit is due when it comes to that defensive tackle room. Josh Sweat, I believe he got home once or twice, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check this. Josh Sweat, he got home for half a sack. Hold on, wait. They credited Jalen Carter with a sack? Really? I don't recall seeing that. But if Jalen Carter got a sack, he got a sack. But regardless, Josh Sweat, he was able to come off the edge. Hassan Reddick wasn't really able to make a big impact in this game. But again, you saw that pass rush forcing Mac Jones to make quick, snappy decisions. So he really leaned heavily on his tight ends. So they did they gave him the sack. Okay, thanks, Jorge. I appreciate it. So Jalen Carter did get a sack. He got a sack. So that's what you want to see, right? You want to see that from your top 10 overall pick. You know what I'm saying? You want to see that. Dink Kelly Green says it was the one where Ellis was on the blitz. Mac Jones stepped up and Carter was there for the second. Okay, got you. I appreciate you guys. Listen, man, I was doing so many things at once, and it must have got by me. But again, the defensive tackles showed up today. They showed up in the run game, and I even believe they showed up in The pass rush as well. The pass rush was creating havoc, but Bill O'Brien did a good job preparing Mac Jones to get that ball out fast, and that's where the tight ends came in, and that's where coverage from the linebackers failed at key times. The linebackers were getting gashed. In that second quarter, you saw Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien saying, "Okay, let's attack these linebackers. That's clearly their weakness," and they did just that. So, I think overall, Sean Desai had a decent outing overall. He had some ill-timed blitzes. I respect him trying because we talked about Sean Desai. We talked about Jonathan Gannon not really being an aggressive guy. We saw Sean Desai showing some aggression in different spots. So I got to give credit where credit is due. The defense held them to only 20 points. If you could hold defense, if this Eagles defense can hold other teams to 20 points or less, they're going to win most of the games they play. Now, obviously, they're going to go up against more high-powered offenses, like the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins went off today. Let's be honest. Tua, Tyreek Hill, they were on another planet today. This defense is going to have to step up. When they play teams like the Jets, and they're going to have to step up when they play teams like the Cowboys. The Cowboys right now are smacking the Giants 40-0 right now. Now, granted, it's more so defense putting up those points and kicking and whatnot. But overall, man, and also their running game as well. But overall, man, Giants are getting their ass whooped. Part of my language, you guys, like 40-0. That's not even funny. If they get shut out on Sunday Night Football, man, the NFL is going to have to give people their money back because there's no reason why the Giants should be on Super Bowl. There's no reason the Giants should be on Sunday Night Football. But that's a different conversation. Dayton Kelly Green says Jordan Davis with a half a sack. Absolutely, man. I was so happy for Jordan Davis today. Marley Colbert says we're gonna have to step it up on Thursday versus the Vikings. You're right. What's going to have to happen is, the Vikings lost to the Buccaneers, right? So they're looking to come out guns a-blazing on Thursday Night Football. You got to put that in perspective. They lost to a team they should have won, or they should have beat. They lost to a team that they should have beat in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They blew that game. So they're going to come in extra motivated to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, what may work in the Philadelphia Eagles' favor is the fact that they didn't play a good game themselves. They know they're actually fortunate to have come out with the win today. They get that. We know that. Y'all know that. The Eagles could have easily lost this game today, but they came out with the victory, and they know they got out by the skin of their teeth. So because even though they won that game, the way they played is going to force them to go back to the drawing board, and it's going to force them to be extremely diligent in anything that they have to fix, and especially in that offense. I'll be honest, I expected so much more out of that Philadelphia Eagles offense. I expected much more continuity, but again, there's a new person calling the plays, so it's going to be different. It's going to take some time for it to gel. But again, none of those guys played in the preseason. None of those guys have played since the Super Bowl. So I think those guys were knocking off some rust. I liked what I saw from A.J. Brown at times. He had 7 catches for about 75, 79 yards. Devontae Smith, 7 catches, 47 yards, a touchdown. What else? Another thing I want to talk to you guys about, and I really want y'all opinion on this. Jorge Mendoza says Jurgens at right guard now is at right guard now too. It's going to take a little bit. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. There were some changes. Right guard, the running back situation. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing pans out for sure, right? And obviously Jalen hasn't played since the Super Bowl, so he's at the end of the day. No matter how much we love Jalen Hurts, he's human. He had to knock off some rust, right? He had to get some of those bad throws out the way, right? Make it even worse, the first game of the season was a nasty game with the bad weather, but second half, weather was not a factor. No wind. It was just humid out there. But I got to talk to you guys about this, and I really want to know y'all's perspective, right? And hear me out on this. Did you guys feel like they were forcing the ball to Kenny Gainwell, especially in that first half? Did you guys believe or feel like they were trying to set a tone with Kenny Gainwell? And I'm not saying Kenny Gainwell didn't run well, right? I mean, that first half, he ran okay. But I didn't like that it seemed like that they were trying to force the ball to the running backs. Like, you have Dallas Goedert, you have A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith. Hell, like, I mean, you got Quez Watkins. I mean, but mainly A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. There's no reason why Dallas Goedert should have left this game with no touches. Kenny Gainwell had more targets and more receptions than Dallas Goedert. That didn't make sense to me. I mean, I respect Jalen for taking what they gave him, but it was more than one occasion where Jalen missed Dallas Goedert because he already made up his mind where the ball was going. And also, Brian Johnson really wasn't intentional about getting Dallas Goedert involved. So when you couple those two things together, it's not really a recipe for success in the long run. It's nothing wrong with trying to get Kenny Gainwell established, but I felt like they were trying too hard to force the ball in his hands. That's just my opinion, though. Queen Bird Gang says, right, I agree. Okay. Jorge Mendoza says forcing. I like the fact that they did. I like the fact they did, though, because I believe in Gainwell. I hope they were trying to set up play action from it, though. Right. You know, that's the thing. I was trying to figure out what the end game was. And that was the problem in general. There was no real fluidity with the play calling. I didn't get a sense for what Brian Johnson's objective was. Right? Every offensive coordinator enters a game trying to accomplish one or two things. I mean, obviously they want to win, but coordinators have objectives that they want to accomplish in game, right? Holding, making sure this guy gets this many targets, or having more than 120 rushing yards in a game, or limiting an offense to 300 yards total offense. I mean, like, there are like coaches, coordinators, they enter games with objectives. I had a hard time trying to figure out what was Brian Johnson's objective on offense. And it showed on the field. But also, got to give credit where credit is due. The Patriots have a very good defense. And I told people it was not going to be an easy game. You know, you had some fans saying, wow, they're going to smack the Patriots. They're not in our league. And that may be from a talent perspective. That may be on paper. But the reality is they're coached very well. That defense is very good. They had a decent run game last season. Obviously, that didn't show today because the Eagles D-line showed up in the run game. But overall, I just think the Eagles got away with this one. They got away with it. But I'll take it, though. Right? I know you guys will. Dank says Sirianni said he's going to reevaluate the starters getting preseason snaps next year. Yeah. You think so? Dank also says Eagles versus Dolphins is my Super Bowl pick. Man, that's going to be a hell of a game, man. That's been a hell of a game. How about Darius Slay, though, man? Shout out to Darius Slay with the pick 6. You know, Darius Slay, did a hell of a job today, just with his situational awareness, his ball skills. I mean, tip drill, took it to the house. Got to give credit where credit is due. Jordan Davis forcing the fumble, setting up a touchdown drive for Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts. Got to give credit where credit is due, man. I mean, this defensive line is only going to get better as the season goes, right? Jalen Carter is only going to get better as the season goes. The linebacker position, I'm concerned. I'm really, really concerned. I believe Reed Blankenship and Evans did an okay job. They weren't spectacular, but I think they did okay. The biggest problem was the linebackers, and it's going to plague us, especially happening with Nakobe Dean. And then look, the reality is with Zach Cunningham has an injury history as well. So If Zach Cunningham goes down and Nakobe Dean is down, what happens there? What happens? Do the Eagles make a trade? Do the Eagles bring somebody in free agency? Like, what do? You dig into the practice squad and bring up Nicholas Morrow? What do you do? The fact of the matter is their options are very limited at linebacker. Dang says Patriots are just a fundamentally disciplined team. Yeah, they are. They're very fundamentally disciplined, man. You can't take games like this for granted. Look, the bottom line is the Eagles won a tough fought game on the road. A tough fought game on the road. They're well coached. Whether the Patriots lack talent or not, they're gonna always be prepared. Listen, you give Bill Belichick 6 months to prepare for a quarterback, he's going to do everything he can to make that man uncomfortable. And that's exactly what happened today. So I kind of want to chalk it up to it just being, a Bill Belichick's, mystique, right? Maybe Brian Johnson and those guys were a little intimidated by the other side's coaching staff. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, man, they got the win. They got the win, man. They got the win. Let's see where we are in this chat. Marley Colbert says no reason to go forward on 4th and 2. Punt the damn ball. Yeah, man. The in-game decision making was very, very confusing. I didn't really understand again what they were trying to accomplish at times, and I didn't like how frivolous Nick Sirianni was with his timeouts, because there was moments in that, like, I'm sorry, but when you use a timeout early in the third quarter, that's a recipe for disaster, in my humble opinion. If you already down to 2 timeouts before the fourth quarter even starts, man, that's a recipe for disaster. And it makes me nervous because you're going to need those, especially in a game like that. That game got ugly. And I thought the Eagles were going to put their foot on their necks. But, they couldn't close them out. Patriots got hot. And they had the Eagles backpedaling. That's the reality. But defense came up in key spots, man. Bill Belichick didn't have the greatest game either. When it came to situational play calling, he went forward on 4th down a couple times. That was a little mind-boggling. But yeah, you guys. I mean, here we go. Delco sings. I thought Nakobe and Blankenship was in on a lot of tackles. No, they were. Nakobe Dean, he had an up and down day to me. I felt like he was in on some I felt like Nakobe Dean was present in run defense, but at the same time, he was very lacking in pass coverage. They targeted him a lot. They targeted Christian Ellis a lot. They went at those guys. But I felt like he was playing a physical game, and I felt like he was in on a lot of tackles, right? I'm not saying he wasn't, but in pass coverage, nah, man, I can't give him flowers in pass coverage. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it at all. Deng says Sirianni pulled an Andy Reid with those timeouts. Yeah, man, it was spooky a little bit, right? I really didn't understand what the motive was, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. But overall, Eagles get the win, 25-20. Made it out alive, made it out of Foxborough with the win. They got a lot to work on, especially on a short week. You got the Minnesota Vikings coming up on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. Y'all do not want to miss that, man. Again, the Minnesota Vikings are going to come in very motivated. They lost to an inferior Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, so they're going to come in Philadelphia very motivated. On top of that, you got the Philadelphia Eagles, who know that they got out of Foxborough, with the skin of their teeth. And they're going to come into that game highly motivated as well. They're going to come into that game trying to cross their T's and dot their I's. Both teams are going to be on their best behavior. So I actually expect, because it's a short week, I don't think this game, because it's a short week, and both of these offenses got some burners on them, got some guys that can score. This game could potentially be high scoring. I think both teams' defenses are going to be on short order. Both of those defenses are going to be running low on gas. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is a high-scoring game. I don't have my score prediction yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that Eagles-Vikings game goes into the high 20s, low 30s. Yeah, but yeah, that's all I have for you guys this evening. I can't stick around too long. We were live for what, 31, 32 minutes. So yeah, listen, I appreciate you guys so much for locking in on the content. I appreciate you guys for coming, especially with it being so late, man. I know it's what, like 11:15 on the East Coast right now. It's 10:15 where I am, 10:14. So look, I appreciate you guys so much for locking in on the content. Thank you, Dink. Thank you, Delco. Thank you, Queen Bird Gang. Thank you, Jorge. Who else? Thank you, Jadis Young. Thank you, Matt Weeks. I appreciate y'all so much for locking in on the content. I appreciate you others who haven't necessarily commented, but I appreciate you guys who came out to show love. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Chalk Up Sports YouTube channel. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. One love. Take care. And y'all already know how we get down Chalk Up Sports. Where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge to the game. Peace out.